Question number 2, Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his statement last week that it is important not to, quote, think ourselves into a negative mindset, close quotes? If so, does he think the Reserve Bank Governor has a negative mindset?
Take the happy pill.
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I was just concerned about the member's state of mind to ensure that he wasn't getting too depressed about being so negative all the time. But no, I don't think the Governor of the Reserve Bank does have a negative mindset. Last week he confirmed the Reserve Bank expects the economy to grow by over 3% in each of the next 2 years, supported by low interest rates, high net migration and construction activity.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
In light of that answer then, is the Reserve Bank Governor correct that there is, quote, little sign that exports are about to recover, or is that just a negative mindset?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I by nature an optimistic person, and I'm a bit more optimistic than the Governor of the Reserve Bank on that matter. Because you have to remember, their export sector has been geared up around an 80-cent plus US dollar. They have become lean, mean and productive, and now that the exchange rate is dropping relatively quickly, I believe the prospects for export growth are pretty good.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
In light of that answer then, is it correct that the ANZ Commodity Price Index has declined by 18% in the last 12 months, or are exporters just making up those numbers as a result of their negative mindset?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, just to cheer the member up, commodities aren't the only thing New Zealand earns export income from. In fact, I think the top earner is tourism, and that's going very well. Then there's dairy, and that's down, there's no doubt about that. And then there's international education, which is growing pretty fast. Then there's areas like wine, where exports have expanded dramatically in the last 10 years. Kiwi fruit's in better shape than it's been for a long time. In fact, ICT is growing at 15%. In fact, I saw the other day the avocado industry is enjoying boom times.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Order. Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Is Cameron Bagrie correct when he said that the economy has slowed down markedly in recent months and today's GDP figures are weak? Or has he just got a negative mindset?
Honourable Bill English.
Oh no, Mr Speaker, in my experience, Mr Bagrie has a sharply analytical mindset. And certainly when you get a GDP number of 0.2, that tells you less has been happening than market expected. It's 1/4's numbers. It's mainly because the drought reduced production, not prices, as the member has been saying in his press releases. The New Zealand economy, however, in general, is on track for 2.5 to 3% growth.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Is the Reserve Bank Governor correct when he says that the terms of trade are, quote, declining significantly and that the government is unlikely to return to surplus before 2017? Or does he just have a negative mindset?
Negative growth under Labour.
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Reserve Bank Governor has every right to have his own opinion about it, as we don't share this. We don't share necessarily those opinions. I just look at the Reserve Bank's growth forecasts, which I know disappoint the member, but actually what they show is 3% growth over the next few years. And whether that can be achieved is pretty likely, because New Zealand businesses and households are working hard, they're resilient, they're productive, and we think they're doing a good job.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuto.
Would the Minister sympathise with a negative mindset from the Reserve Bank Governor, given that in the budget the Minister told the public that total Crown borrowing was approximately $60 billion, but in reality the Reserve Bank Governor knows the truth of the situation, that it is in fact nearly twice that at $111 billion, $334 million.
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, there's a number of... We just use the normal way the Public Finance Act specifies, or indicates, for calculating gross debt. If you look at debt right across the whole government balance sheet, you'll come up with some different numbers, but quite happy to discuss with the member how that's calculated so that we can all understand the difference between those two numbers.
Point of order, Fletcher Tabuto.
I seek leave to table to the House a breakdown from the Minister himself on the numbers I've just quoted in the House today.
No, again, I don't think that's going to inform the answer. The Minister, the question was a legitimate question. There was a discussion between two figures. The Minister's answered it. What the members are attempting to do now in tabling that's to simply use it to make a political point. I'm not going to allow it. Grant Robertson,
Speaker.
supplementary question.
When Graham Wheeler, Cameron Bagri, exporters all over New Zealand are telling him that his economy is only being propped up by retail spending in Canterbury and Auckland, isn't it time for him to stop blaming people for telling the truth and admit that he doesn't have a plan for the New Zealand economy?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, for the member to say the economy's just being propped up by Auckland and Christchurch, I mean, what's he suggesting is the alternative? That somehow we measure it without Auckland and Christchurch, which would be ridiculous. I think it shows the member thinks the Wellington is the centre of the universe, and that's the only thing that we should count.
Order.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuto.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can the Minister confirm that despite the sale of nearly half of the electricity to foreign interests determined to increase their profits, that the net debt of our state-owned enterprises has actually increased $11 billion since this government came into power?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I need to have a look at the detail of the figures, but I can assure the member that SOE certainly won't be borrowing unnecessarily, that's for sure. But I can assure him also that the sale of half of each of the three generators has led to us getting more dividends as a 50% owner than we got as a 100% owner.
Question number 3,